So recently when I was talking to one of my clients, she was mentioning how one of her parents has a chronic disease and she was wondering about her risk and what she could do for it. So I thought I would make this episode because so many people look at these chronic conditions like diabetes, dementia, heart disease, and think it runs in our family. And sometimes we feel powerless to it, right? Our parents have this, so we're going to get it. And why genetics can play a role. It's really interesting how much research shows that our everyday habits and our lifestyle matter a lot when it comes to these types of diseases. So today I'm going to dive into this, share a little bit of research, and then towards the end share very practical tips when we're looking at all these chronic conditions, typically things that you can do that help with all of these. So it's not like for this disease, we need to do this. There's a lot of overlap between those. So I want this episode to put you in an empowering spot where you can really take control of your health and not have fear. Hi friends, and welcome to the Healthy Beyond 40 show. I'm Michele, mama 4 and military wife, and I'm passionate about helping women get healthy from the inside out so they can feel better and live their best life. Do you feel like you're struggling to lose weight and get in shape? If you're ready to develop healthier habits, exercise consistently, and lose weight sustainably, then you're in the right place. I combine my expertise from my doctorate in physical therapy to my experience as a health coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher to bring you actionable steps for a healthy lifestyle. No magic pill here, so lace up those shoes and get moving. All right, friends. And before we get started, I just want to remind you, if you haven't taken a look at my website, there's going to be a link in the description. Check out my website, see the different resources I offer. I have freebies, I have a low-cost membership, and then I have personalized one-on-one offers. So check it out, see if there's something you need to support your journey. And also a disclaimer before I start here is this podcast is for educational purposes. And it's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace any medical advice. So always talk with your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional before making decisions about changing diet, exercise, supplements, medication, healthcare plans, all of that. Okay, so let's dive into this. So genetics can absolutely have an effect, but it's really a lot less than what we think. So some people who talk about epigenetics will say our genes are there, and then the lifestyle is what pulls the trigger. So even some doctors, when I listen to doctors speak about cancer, like some cancers have a genetic component, but sometimes it's the environmental factors or the diet or stress or these different things that can sort of switch genes on and off. So I want you guys to think that your lifestyle can either move you closer to disease or farther away from it. And so some general numbers here that I found that studies suggest lifestyle factors account for 80% of heart disease, 90% of type 2 diabetes, and also significant portions of dementia risk. So that's huge. Like lifestyle has a huge amount when it comes to these chronic health conditions. And so not only do we want to prevent these chronic health conditions, there's so much that comes with those conditions that slow you down, right? Even with type 2 diabetes, people might have neuropathy and they might get sores in their legs. They might have problems with their vision. Like it really impacts your health in multiple ways when you have these chronic conditions. So in 2 large studies, the reduction of cardiovascular disease risk from making some lifestyle changes like physical activity, nutrition, weight management, not smoking was greater than 80%. Diabetes, it was greater than 90% of these people who follow these lifestyle practices. And I also thought this was interesting. The American Heart Association estimates that only 5% of individuals follow these lifestyle factors as components of a strategy to achieve ideal cardiovascular health. So it's like we have some knowledge there, and then we have the real world where we have commercials, advertisement, and all these things that push all these things that we know are not good for us. And a common link between these different chronic diseases is inflammation, insulin resistance, being inactive, not having good sleep, and not having stress. So those are things that we can start to target and see as a common link between things too. So for a lot of these is the same habits that prevent one disease will also help with another disease. And I want to narrow in just on movement and movement as medicine here. So thinking of walking, strength training, yoga, where we're moving our body, even just cleaning our house, walking into parking lots, being active, right? We have to really be intentional these days because it's not set up in our society to do this. We no longer have to wash things by hand. We no longer have to take a rug outside and hit it to get the dust out, right? We vacuum or we have a robot vacuum for us. We don't have to garden to get our food. We don't have to can our food. Like all these things take movement and energy and we just don't have to do it. So we have to be very intentional with movement and exercise. And exercise has been shown to help with improving insulin sensitivity. So that has to do with our blood sugar regulation. Not only does that help with type 2 diabetes, but it can also help with heart disease and blood pressure. Exercise helps to support our circulation, reduces inflammation. It can improve our brain health and preserve our muscle mass and increase our bone density. So you can see how that exercise helps all these different chronic diseases. And, there's been some studies with depression that people who got outside, had sunshine, and walked felt better. So exercise can also help with our mood and, our stress that we're having is really huge in a lot of different diseases. Sometimes it's easy to see like exactly what exercise does or doesn't do. But stress and cortisol, the more I listen to other doctors and experts, it's really a common link. Even when I've had some menopause experts on the show, they talked about these lifestyle strategies and stress, right? If we are in a high level of stress and have high cortisol, our hormones in our body isn't going to function as good. We're not going to sleep as well. And if we don't sleep as well, we're creating all this inflammation in our body. So I feel like that's an often overlooked one is the stress levels and the sleep. And those need to be a top priority. It really needs to be the foundation. And we live in such a fast-paced society that it can be really hard to prioritize that or even to realize what we need because we're by all these people who are just so busy and going all over the place. And we think that's what we're supposed to do and we're supposed to function well, but it's just not true. And just a couple episodes where I had Dr. Luke on, we really talked about how important muscle is. So this helps too. The more muscle we have, it helps to regulate our blood sugar. It improves our metabolism. It helps keep our bones strong, which reduces our risk of falls and fractures. It really supports healthy aging. So muscle is really key, especially when we get sick or injured. Our body can use that muscle to repair and build. And if we don't have enough of it, then we don't have that muscle to help heal our body. And obviously, we all know that food is important. I think I'm hearing more and more stuff about how important blood sugar is because they're finding it linked to these different diseases. So again, when we think of food, we don't have to think of some extreme diet that we can't stick to, but we know the basics. We know that we should be eating mostly whole foods, balanced meals that have some protein and fiber and some healthy fats and really reducing those ultra processed foods. So it's so easy to complicate food and not be able to follow through with it. So I really encourage my clients to keep the food piece simple and make one habit change at a time or maybe two at a time when it comes to food, because we really want to get to this place where we're eating whole foods, healthy meals that we're not getting those blood sugar spikes from or that insulin resistance over time. And typically people can't do this sustainably if we do it drastically. And sometimes it doesn't feel good mentally. It feels like we're taking away all these things from us. But if we do it slowly, we can develop a better relationship with the healthy food and not feel like we are missing out. And I also want to talk real quick about mindset, because if you guys have been listening, I love to talk about mindset because it is another piece that's sort of like the foundation of things, because it really drives what we do and what we don't do. So when we have purpose and meaning in our life, and we have the social connection and friends, we tend to have better mental health. And when we can work on these mind pieces so that we can reach our goals, because a lot of times our mindset and our thoughts and our emotions are what holds us back. When we can start to have tools and support to work with our mindset to get us where we can start feeling a lot better. And then we start treating ourselves better. A lot of us treat ourselves so crappy. We don't even see it. But we think we don't deserve sleep. We're just too busy. We have to do all these other things. Or we don't have time to de-stress or to journal or to do the deep breathing or to work out. We don't have time to prep our food. And really, if we can take a step back and look at that, sometimes that's just really treating ourselves crappy. And no one else is going to prioritize that for us. So we have to work on that mindset piece where we can take care of these basic needs for us and then serve and help others. Where we can get into that place where we're able to manage our stress, right? Where we have stress and we have ways to deal with that. So when things come up, they're not totally depleting us or us going into a spiral. We're able to work through those things and feel good about them. So I encourage you that if you have a family history of some of these chronic diseases, that doesn't mean you're powerless. Instead, it's giving you an opportunity to be proactive, to really be intentional, to figure out some small, consistent habits that you can make over time to really get you to a sustainable place in your health. So, just because someone in your family has this chronic disease or that chronic disease, there's a higher percent, well over 50%, that you may not if you are taking the right lifestyle steps. And this is why I care so much about helping other women really build sustainable habits and not extreme plans. Because the little things that we do consistently can really shape our future and make a difference. We can be that person we want to be in our 60s, 70s, or 80s. I do this book club at my church, and we read fictional books through the Well-Read Mom. It's a nationwide book club. And in this book club, there's people my age, maybe a little bit younger, and then people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I just really enjoy going and hearing some of these older women talk and just seeing like how smart they are, how well they can like read a book and break some of these things down and think deeply about things. Right? So that's brain health. And I think I want to be like that. And I also see when I see older people out moving around, someone in their 80s who can move really well and to do things and even work out, I'm like, that is what I want to be. So I want you to really think for yourself. What do you want to be like in your 70s, your 80s, your 90s, and backtrack from there? You have the power. And sometimes changing can be really hard. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Sometimes you're not sure where to start. You have like 20 things that you want to change and you don't know what exactly to do. And if you feel stuck, I encourage you to set up a free call with me. And you can share your goals and your struggles, and we'll just walk through some possible realistic steps to start getting you on that path to reach those goals that you have. And doing it in a way that is customized to you. Because I have never had a call where I have the exact same thing for every person. Because every person's life is a little bit different where they are, what their schedule is, what they're ready to work on, what their habits are. There's not a cookie cutter plan out there. We can give some of these basic recommendations that will help people. But for people that need a little more support, there's not like one answer, one thing I can tell you to do. It really depends on you. So use the description down below and set up that free call if that's you feeling stuck and you're ready to break free and find some consistency and get some support. Okay, so now I want to go over to some of those practical daily prevention tips that sort of hit on all these diseases. And so especially after listening to this list, you're like, I don't know where to start, or I've tried this, it hasn't worked, Or sometimes people try to start with something and it's really not what they should start with first and they're not successful. So that free health coaching call is really good if that's you. So one is to get that daily movement. So this isn't even exercise, but this is just moving. And really, we are meant to move a lot and exercise a little. So I feel like, I don't know what the good recommendations are because I hear different things. But in general, I feel like someone is moving a decent amount if they're getting like 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, if you track it. And it could be something like, I've never used a smartwatch, but you could use your phone today, see what kind of steps you're getting. I know for me, I won't get enough steps unless I'm going for intentional walks. The next piece is strength train. We have to build that muscle mass, and we have to do that through strength training where we are really straining those muscles so that they repair, rebuild, and get stronger. We have to figure out how to manage our stress. If we're easily stressed out, if we're in fight or flight, if somewhat small to medium things pop up and it just sends us in a spiral, we have to figure out what tools we need to manage that stress. It creates so much inflammation in our body. And then that leads me to my next one, prioritize sleep. And typically if someone is high stress, they might be not getting enough sleep. So we have to make sure we're getting to the core of what is causing not enough sleep. And sometimes as I talk to people, they're just staying up late doing something or not going to bed on time. So it may not be that they're super stressed. It may be that they just have to make more time for sleep and they have to have a hard cutoff at night. We have to reduce the amount of ultra-processed foods, those packaged foods, and really eat as much whole foods as we can. And I always, when I'm working with clients, like to narrow in on protein and fiber. I feel if we can narrow in on those two, sometimes that really helps that we're getting that more whole food diet and we're feeling more full and satisfied and managing our blood sugar. And also staying socially connected, having those relationships and people you can feel connected to and good about, those people that you can go to with a problem and you feel better after talking to them. Making time for those friendships. Again, when I sort of listen to the past, people used to live a little bit closer, or you lived right by your mom and your aunts and you had all these people. So we have to create that for ourselves. We have to create that community and that connectedness, and it takes time. I know that. I'm a military spouse. In the last few years, we've moved a couple times, and I have to be really intentional about this. And it's hard making new friends. So I have to have that time in my week to be able to do that because I know I am better for it and I feel better. And we want to think of brain health too, and we have to make sure we are challenging and using our brain. So keeping our brain strong and active. So I gave you guys quite a list there. Do not start with them all. Maybe start with one thing and really take the time to figure out how you can do that. And it might even be like, especially if you have managed stress, there might be multiple things that you're going to have to do to get there. And you might just be starting with one. If it is something like reducing ultra-processed foods or eating more whole foods, there's probably quite a bit of bullet points you can do that you need to do to get there. But pick just one and start with that. All right, friends. So I hope that this was helpful. I encourage you to really just stay active this summer. Don't let summer be an excuse for you to slip up on your healthy habits. Or don't let summer be the excuse to not start healthy habits. It's always easy to push stuff off. But today is the day. You have this week, you have these days in front of you, and use them to your advantage. All right, have a good week, friends.